Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia and basically the place that draws the best arrow. And this is time you have to press the like button and send some humanitarian aid to the like button because that joke was cringe. And of course, do subscribe if you are new to this channel, and we're going to start off with the frontline changes report. And for those that have no idea what the hell is this video about, this Ukraine situation report. In case you just click this by accident. Anyway, or you have already forgotten after you click in and was like, what did I click on? And over at the Serebransky Forestry in the Kreminna front, this Kreminna city, in the this is Serebransky Forestry. Basically, this is actually a forest that is meant to be lumbered. Basically there is a geolocation of Ukrainian forces raising some flag in the middle of the forest, showing that they are there, or rather the Russians are not there. So the Ukrainians have captured this part of the forest. So this is a news after there is actually no news within this forest region for a very long time. The last report was in February, more than a month ago, and also there is no actions around here, and suddenly the Ukrainian forces find it pretty safe to raise some flag, And so the other frontline change is over at Tonenke, over at the Avdiivka front. So this Avdiivka city, and the Avdiivka front, the Russian forces, the Russian Defense Ministry has announced that they have captured Tonenke. I have not have any corroboration about this from any other sources, but it seems like the Russian Defense Ministry have said that they have conquered Tonenke entirely, and this is actually very believable because the Ukrainian forces have been stuck in this salient. This is a dog bone, and they have been in a very difficult spot. So the Russian forces taking the rest of Tonenke is basically a matter of time, and it seems like the Russian Defense Ministry basically have declared it. Of course, we will still look for corroboration, which is why this is not a flag. This is actually just a Loudhailer icon, because we can't tell. Basically, we can't tell that at this moment. But of course, I can put it as a flag, but some of you guys will be complaining, so that's what it is. And over in the Donetsk front in Georgievka, because it's actually Georgievka, even the Ukrainians pronounce it as Georgievka, but it's a Ukrainian weird thing that they write to change all the G to H for no apparent reason, because they don't even pronounce it in that way. Anyway, geolocation of Russian forces at this very position, getting struck by FPV drone on the Ukrainian side, basically confirming Russian presence around here. And in fact, actually I should have drawn another box basically in this way to show that the Ukrainian claim has been invalidated. So let's do this. So okay, maybe a bit lesser. Okay, never mind, it's okay. So Georgievka, Ukraine claim invalidated. So oops, wrong. Yeah, so let me copy this so you guys can see actually how this done. Whoops. And I change the color to red. So yeah, so basically this is a Russian capture to this area here, and in this area is actually invalidation of Ukrainian claims. So previously the Russian front line is actually here. So basically this is actually the change, the front line change, just a little bit. So that's all for the frontline changes report, and I'm going to refresh the page. So yeah, just in case, because we just made some change. Hope that your eyes is okay, because I just flashed you and you have absolutely forgotten everything, because it's like Man in Black. You have forgotten everything that I've just said. You don't even know your name, and your name is dude. So anyway, over in the Kherson front, at the Kherson front, there is still reports of fighting in the southern bank of the Dnieper River, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. And yeah, so we do not know where the fighting is, so we're gonna just assume that it's going to be at Krinky. And there is a number of drone strikes, which is very significant. One of them is the Russians launched Lancet drone strike on the air base near Mykolaiv at the Kubalkino airbase. So there's a L-39 aircraft allegedly getting destroyed. This aircraft look a lot like a Sukhoi 25, at least based on the footage, which I'm lazy to show you the footage, so make do. And there's also 2 more drone strikes. This Lancet actually hit a radar station over at this location, Kopleve. Nice name. And there's another Lancet drone strike hitting a patrol ship at this port at Kryhorivka. So this area here. So these are all Lancet drone strikes, and you can see that the Russian drones are actually flying further and further away to look for targets. And clearly the drones do not operate because the Lancet drone is a suicide drone, so they are not just using the Lancet drones as just surveillance. They definitely have some surveillance drone that is already loitering around in this area here looking for targets, and then once they found something, they will actually call in the Lancet. And I believe this is how they operate, because usually all this Lancet strike, they do have a second drone that is actually monitoring and surveilling and taking the video footage to be posted on social media. So as usual, I always assume that there will be more actions than just the footages released online. So this is definitely a seeming change in terms of the situation at the Kherson front, where is no longer such a target rich environment, and the Russians are actually going further and further away to hit other targets. And the fact that they are hitting the boats, as I mentioned, as I reported over the past few days, there is already 2 vessels getting hit. So this is another vessel that's gotten hit, which means that the Russians are running out of targets, because these kind of patrol ships are actually very low priority. They are very useless in terms of the strategic situation, the tactical situation. They are not very useful. The Ukrainians can't really do much with them. The fact that they are getting hit means that the Russians are running out of target around this area here. And over in the Zaporizhia front, this is the Zaporizhia front, Kayamsky sector, Orikhiv sector, and the Huyapole sector. Someone told me in the comments, Hul or Hui. Hui is actually some curse language in Russian or something like that. So Huiyu. And anyway, the Russian forces are conducting an offensive action mainly in this two-third, the western two-third, that's fighting reported, not really fighting, but it's more like a fire mission on Stepove. And there's also Russian forces attacking in the area of Kopani, over in the western part of Robertine, at Robertine itself, as well as at Merne. So Merne is the interesting one, because there was a declaration of the capture of Merne recently. So this is reported by the Russian Defense Ministry. The capture was reported on the 17th of March. And then, yeah, so this is the situation over the Zaporizhia front. We move on away from the Zaporizhia front into the Donetsk front. So this is the Donetsk front, and a Velika Novosilka sector, Voleda sector, and Marinka sector. And fighting is being reported at Staromayorske, Uruzhaine, at Pavlivka, towards Vodian. The Ukrainian forces clash, as they are also being reported to be attacking at Vodian. The Russians are attacking at Novomihailivka, at Georgievka, as well as Krasnohorivka. So this is the strategic situation over in the Donetsk front. Pavlivka is interesting, I would say, because fighting at Pavlivka always seems to be a precursor to a possible attack into Voleda, but may or may not happen. And of course, there is this constant operation happening over at the Uruzhaine and Staromayorske region, which is definitely something that I will always watch. Over at the Marinka sector, as we go a bit deeper here, there is a geolocation of the front line with the Russian forces attacking over in the northern part of Novomihailivka. And of course, the front line change at Georgievka, shown by the FPV drone strike. The Ukrainian forces are also getting airstrike in the western part of Georgievka. So the Russian forces have geolocated over here. The Russians then actually do an airstrike with the Fat Bomb. So this is a continuation. Georgievka has been a subject of a lot of airstrikes. And there is also some reports about fighting in the southern part of Krasnohorivka, according to Ryba, as well as the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. So the Russians are still attacking in this area here. We don't have a lot to talk about in terms of Krasnohorivka, because there's so little information coming out from this area here. The commander in this area has very good operational discipline with his troops, so very impressive. Over in the Avdiivka region, the Russian forces are continuing to press on their advantage, with fighting reported at Semenivka, Badaichi, and Pervomaisky and towards Netelove. There's also no claims about fighting towards Umansky as well as Nevelsky. So the one at Umansky was reported by Ryba, the pro-Russian source, and also the Russian forces have declared that they have captured Tonenki. This is coming from the Russian Defense Ministry, as I mentioned in the Frontline Changes report. Ukrainian forces are counter-attacking over at Pervomaisky, at Vodian, over at Tonenki, as well as Badaichi. So this is the strategic situation in this Avdiivka front, and the claim about fighting towards Umansky would suggest that Tonenki has been captured. So if not, then you can't really go around, because because Umansky is over here. To attack here, you have to capture Tonenki first. So the fact that they are reporting fighting towards Umansky, according to Ryba, so there's a possibility of an offensive in the direction of Semenivka and Umansky. So which means that they are possibly have already taken Tonenki for good. So some semi-corroboration of the Russian claims. And over in the Badaichi region, there is Russian forces checking out the Abrams tank at Badaichi. The fact that they can look at the tank more closely shows that they have pretty decent control of this region here around Badaichi, which means that the front line may have already moved, or the Ukrainian forces are pretty far away, that the Russian forces do not feel the danger. And some rumors says that the Abrams tanks is actually not very damaged. The internal parts may actually be still intact. And if that's the case, then it may reveal some operational secret to the Russian side. But of course, these Abrams tanks are not the state-of-the-art ones. These are the old ones. So I don't think the Russian Defense Ministry is going to earn. The Russian military is not going to learn much about it. Over in New York, there is fighting reported in the region of New York, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. From in yesterday's and today's report, the Russian forces have been defending against this Ukrainian attack. Not much was said about this area here, so we will continue to wait for more information. Over at the southern part of the Bakhmut front, fighting is being reported over at Klishchiivka as well as Andriivka as usual, and there's also fighting reported at Ivanivsky. And that's about it over in the Bakhmut front. There's also fighting reported at Bodanivka. So not much. I don't expect too much from this front line anymore, because there is a lot of reports of attack, but almost no frontline changes. I think this is just a trap for now. From my view, I think that this is just a place where they are just attracting Ukrainian forces to come to this area here, so to reinforce and hold the line. And this will be a place where the Ukrainians will be very confident, because the defense line here is actually pretty decent. I think it's pretty defendable for the Ukrainians. So, but then holding a line means you need cannon folders, you need troops, equipments to be holding position, and this would actually open them up to lancet strike, drone strikes, missile strike, artillery strikes, and air strikes. And if we believe that the Russians are into demilitarization, then the pressure that the Russians is pushing on the Bakhmut front may be deliberate to attract more Ukrainian forces into the front line over here, so that they can be destroyed on site, which is why probably the front line do not change. So over at the Sivers front, there is some expanded action. Fighting is reported at Vasily, at Rozdolivka, at Zolotarivka, as well as Bilohorivka. Ukrainian forces are counter-attacking at Bilohorivka. And these reports about fighting at Vasily and Rozdolivka is reported by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, which actually somewhat corroborates the reports from yesterday about the possibility of Ukrainians attacking around in this area here. But anyway, the Russians are pushing. I tentatively we will continue to monitor. I think the push from the south is always more threatening than the one over in the northern part, but we shall wait and see how this goes. And moving into the Crimea front, at the Crimea front, there is fighting reported at Terny as well as Yampolivka. Ukrainian forces counterattacking at Terny. And in a more breaking, more mind-blowing, no, wrong, too much. In a more significant news, there is fighting reported at Dibrova. So the last time we have reports of fighting at Dibrova is exactly 1 month ago. So Russian forces are pushing at Dibrova. This is the first fighting at Serbranski Forestry region in a month. So I'm not sure if this will start to escalate more and more, especially, you know, it coincides with the Ukrainian forces raising a flag within the forest itself. So very interesting. We will continue to monitor and see whether Crimea will start to blow up again into a meaningless fight. Because the front line don't really change much in the Serebrenski Forestry. And we move on further up north. There's nothing at the Svetove front. We move into the Kupiansk front. So at the Kupiansk front, very interesting. Russian forces are attacking at Sinkivka. This is normal. But we have fighting being reported at Tinkovka, Yakitne, as well as Kaislivka. I'm not sure if this will be a start of a new offensive operation with the Russian forces heading towards Stepova, Novoselivka, and cutting the highway near Pischane. Not sure. Because every time I thought that this is going to happen, the Russians stopped pushing. So, and the Ukrainian lines around here is extremely strong. This is a very, very heavily defended line because of how vital it is for the Ukrainians. They cannot allow the Russians to appear in this area here. They will not be able to defend it. So I think we will continue to monitor and see how this progress. Anyway, don't expect too much because the Russians are very slow. Very, very slow. Yeah, they almost don't like to attack, almost. And over in the Belgorod front, at the Belgorod front, there is still some sort of fighting being reported, but it's not exactly it. The Russian Defense Ministry corroborates the Ryba's report saying that the Russian forces have fully mopped up Kozinka. So no, now it's super clean. There is like I'm just joking. The joke didn't work out. I lost the momentum. Anyway, the Ukrainian forces have been totally pushed out of Kozinka. This is exactly what that is supposed to mean. So, however, footages are still coming out from the battle that was happening while the Ukrainians are still there. Geolocation of a Russian attacking the Ukrainian forces, which the Ukrainian forces don't really have a tank in this area here. So, it is kind of an outclassed operation with the Russian forces sending a tank against infantry. And then there is also a Russian airstrike within Kozinka against the Ukrainian forces, and there is geolocation of Ukrainian forces retreating quickly with a vehicle coming over here to pick them up and evacuate away from the front line. So this footage of the retreat may actually corroborate the fact that the Ukrainian forces have given up Kozinka and actually pushed out. And the fact that there is a Russian tank involved, the airstrike, and then the evacuation, this might actually be the story of how the Ukrainian forces basically decided to bounce. And the Russian Defense Ministry also reported that they have bombarded multiple locations in this particular front line with bombings, with Russian bombing and a strike and artillery strike. I think it's which one? Fire damage. They call it fire damage. Basically, it could be airstrike, artillery strike, and drone strikes at Kulokashivka, Oleksandrivka, at Velika Pasarivka, as well as Yamne. So basically, it could be a case where the vehicle is trying to leave and they are getting bombed all the way out. That could be a possibility. I'm not sure. And I'm not sure if there is, or maybe there is actually Ukrainian forces still gathering within these areas here, deciding what to do next, and then the Russians are trying to wear them down. There's also a possibility. We do not know what is the exact situation, and there is also FPV drone strike hitting a radar that is used for counter battery actions near Oleksandrivka. So no, the Ukrainians are now on the back foot. The Belgorod offensive is entirely over right now, and it's back to the drawing board. If the Russian claims are true, we are talking about 3,500 losses on the Ukrainian side with almost 100 vehicles. sounds a lot for just a week plus of fighting. So we will continue to monitor, and we see how this progress, whether the Ukrainians will have a better idea. Sorry, Russians, the free Russians, whatever, no. And there's nothing over the Sumy region, and that's it. This is the summary for the day of 756 for the 20th of March. Do press the like button, subscribe. Yeah, and just to note, again, as usual, YouTube is not really pushing DPA's video. So if you can share the DPA's video to help DPA to push and reach more people, do share it. Especially people who you also know that are followers of DPA, because YouTube is not really not pushing. If people don't see the video, they wouldn't know that a video exists. They will not think about it. So do share helps. And yeah. So thank you for watching. I'll see you guys in the next update. Slava Ukraini.